It was the last week of January of 1994 where Nirvana had booked a recording session at Robert Lang Studios in Seattle. This would be the band's final ever recording session. Nirvana had booked 3 days to record with Robert Lang at his studio, a Friday, a Saturday, and a Sunday. The first day, being that Friday, despite repeated phone calls, Kurt failed to show. Courtney Love, Kurt's wife, had already gone overseas with her band Hole, and no one was answering the phone at the Cobain house. Kurt also failed to appear on the second day too. However, Chris Novoselic and Dave Grohl would use this time to work on songs that Dave had written.
On a break from touring, Kurt said, "Hey, I want to find a studio because I want to record that song." And so we looked at a couple studios around Seattle, and I knew about this place that was, maybe 5 blocks from my house. I lived north of the city in an area called Richmond Beach. And I'd heard about this studio that was really funky because it was underground. It was like under this guy's house built into the side of the hill. So we went in there and recorded that last song that Nirvana had. And I don't know how many days we booked, but we spent a couple days messing around. And then one day we actually recorded that song.
And that was You Know You're Right.
Yeah, You Know You're Right. Yeah, that song.
Dave and Chris worked on various song ideas during these first 2 days, including songs that would appear on the Foo Fighters' debut album. And so now we get to Sunday, that third and final day of recording. Now this is where Kurt did arrive. A vivid memory that producer Robert Lang had from that day was just how much Kurt was suffering with back pain. Lang remarked how Cobain would come out and lay on the hard granite marble floor of a studio to try to get his back right. Nirvana were trying some new and different tricks and techniques in the studio, stuff that they hadn't done before. The band worked for about a full 10 hours that day, including continuing work on Dave's songs. Kurt would jump on the drum kit for these tracks. A lot of the tracks that the band put down that day were just half-completed songs and not fully formed. However, one song was completed with vocals, and that track was You Know You're Right. The song was originally played live in Chicago in October of 1993. However, back then, Kurt called the song On the Mountain. The song was still incomplete at that stage. It wasn't till this day in January of '94 where Nirvana got the song to its finished product. "We bombed it together fast," recalled Novoselic. "Kurt had the riff and brought it in, and we put it down. We Nirvanaized it." You Know You're Right, an absolute amazing Nirvana song, that goes without saying. The lyrics, very dark and haunting. Kurt sings very quietly at the beginning, "I will never bother you. I will never promise to. I will never follow you. I will never bother you. Never speak a word again. I will crawl away for good." There was talk of trouble in Kurt Cobain and Courtney Love's marriage at this time, and it is thought that a lot of these lyrics are directed to that situation. Cobain continued, "I will move away from here. You won't be afraid of fear. No thought was put into this. I always knew it would come to this. Things have never been so swell. I have never failed to fail." And then, of course, the big chorus of the song that we all know, where Cobain yells out the single word, pain. Most people will remember the first time they ever heard this track. It was like a new Nirvana track, the first new Nirvana song people had heard in so long. The song had been hidden from the world for such a long time. Written and composed, of course, way back in 1994. Fans wouldn't get to hear it until like 2002, when it was released on the Nirvana Greatest Hits album. But yeah, an amazing, chilling, dramatic Nirvana song. Totally awesome. You just think if they had have been able to put down some more tracks like this where the band could have gone. But that's not quite where the story of the recording session ends. Now, by the time the band finished, they celebrated by going out to dinner and having some pizza. Kurt was really upbeat and happy, and he told producer Robert Lang that he wanted to book some more studio time when the band returned from Europe. Of course, that never happened. Stuff went really bad in that European tour, and the band never made it back to Robert Lang Studios. Now, the next day, which was the Monday, Kurt phoned his father. Now, this was notable because the two had had a very estranged relationship. But Kurt phoned his dad, and the two of them talked for over an hour, the longest conversation between the two of them in over a decade. Don, Kurt's dad, said that he wanted to see Kurt's daughter, Frances, and Kurt was proudly reciting all the latest things that she could say and do. And in this conversation, Don was able to tell his son Kurt the words that had previously eluded him. He simply said to his son, "I love you, Kurt." "I love you too, Dad," Kurt replied. And at the end of the conversation, Kurt actually invited his father to come and see his new house when he returned from that European tour. Jenny, Don's wife, noted that after Don had got off the phone from talking to his son Kurt, that it was one of the very few times that she had seen him crying. So the phone call had obviously meant a lot to Kurt's dad. So it seemed that the two of them were getting along well. However, Kurt and Don never did get together after the European tour. They never did mate up. As I mentioned before, stuff really hit the fan on that European tour, and Kurt was lucky to come home alive even after that incident in Rome. And of course, he passed away just a few weeks later. But it just shows how upbeat Kurt was after that recording session, after they had completed that final Nirvana song, You Know You're Right. He seemed really upbeat and happy, talking about booking more studio time, even getting along well with his father, who he had really struggled in that relationship with. And then we have that European tour in February and March of '94, and everything just went downhill drastically from there. But that is the story, guys, of Nirvana's final ever recording session in January of 1994. Kurt never showed up the first 2 days, but he came in on that Sunday, on that third day, and the band laid down that track, You Know You're Right. One awesome song. Want to thank you guys, as always, for tuning in. Be sure to leave us a big thumbs up on the video and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Also, consider hitting that applaud button down below too and becoming a member of the channel. There's more information on that down below, and we'll catch you next time, guys.